Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Sweet and Sour Soccer. Good to have you back. And we are going to be looking at the relegation battle because it is really hotting up at this point in the season. Guys, before we dive in, do us a favour, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We are a general football channel, so there's no excuses. Scott, without further ado, let's do it. We've got a presentation for the good folks at home.
Yeah.
Scott, what jumps out? I want to ask you, and I haven't prepared this with you, so I'm putting you on the spot here. What jumps out at you on this screen? Because over the weekend there was some really crazy results down there. For those that I just want a disclaimer: we are going to come on to Villa. I know some Villa fans are probably going to be absolutely crucifying us in the comments. Why are we on here? But there is a little bit of a reason. But Scott, what jumps out to you on this screen the most?
I mean, the oddest thing that actually jumped out when I was actually putting this nice little screen together so we could go through, the fixtures that were remaining was the fact that Leeds are still in it, because it really shocked me to a degree. And I kind of knew they were still within the discussion. And of course, I've been looking at the table, but I don't think it had fully hit me just as much in it as they are, because you look at the goal difference, -30, you worry that could have a massive impact. You almost say that Burnley are only actually, well, they're 3 points behind, but like if they do reach the same points, Burnley are going to go in front of them.
Yeah.
And it's more astonishing because Jesse Marsh, okay, came in and it didn't go all to plan to start with, but the blokes put a run of 5 games where they have not lost, and I think accumulated 11 points as well. And we're sitting here, and I think we said a few weeks ago that this could be one of the lowest points requirements to go down. And I don't know. I don't know if you agree, but I feel like it could take 38, 39 points now. This could actually be one of the highest.
Well, it's funny you say that, because back in January, February, I thought 32, 33 points comfortably kept you up. It's going to be closer to 38, maybe even 39. Could this be the first season in a long time where you need 40 points? I don't think so. I think it'll just dip below that. But I've got a stat based on that. In the last 10 seasons, the highest point tally that you needed to stay up was 37, and that was back-to-back 11-12 season and 12-13. But starting from 2012, these are the points you needed to stay up: 37-37, 34-36. Oh, there's a 38 in there. I tell a lie. 38 points needed, 15-16, 35, 34, 35, 39, and then last season, 29.
Yeah, that's astonishing. So, I mean, on an average point of view, you're probably usually speaking about 35. And I'd say that this season you're going to need above that average to survive, which is really alarming, isn't it, compared to January? Looking at these fixtures then, let's have a look at them. I'm going to put you on the spot now. Who do you think's got the hardest running?
I have to say Leeds. I would have said Everton because they've got to play Chelsea, so have Leeds. They've got to play Arsenal, so have Leeds. I would say Leeds only because they have only got 5 games left. Everton have got to play Chelsea, granted. They've got to play Leicester. They've got to play Arsenal. I'd throw Palace in there as well. Palace are, they can beat anyone on their day. Watford and Brentford, they're the games that they need to win. It's just the fact that Leeds have only got 5 games like Burnley. So I think Leeds have got the hardest games. However, that doesn't mean to say I believe Leeds will go down. I don't think they will. A disclaimer, I will say that if they had if they'd have kept Bielsa in charge, I think they'd have been gone by now. You mentioned a few moments ago they haven't lost in 5. It's not like they drew 4 of them and got a 1 win. No. They've won 3 and drawn 2. 11 points from 15. That's Champions League form. That gets you top 4 at the end of the season. So I think, although Leeds have the toughest run in because they've got 1 game left and they've still got to play City, Arsenal, Chelsea, I think they'll be okay because they've got that bounce back effect, that bounce effect from Marsh, but also they've got key players back, the likes of Bamford, the likes
And
of
I think
Phillips.
I would agree with you. I think obviously they've got that bit of a point cushion, but I would say that Leeds have probably got the hardest fixtures. When you look at Everton, I mean, some of their harder games, you look at the likes of Chelsea, you look at a Palace, for example, at least those two games are at home. You know, Palace are a different animal when they're at Selhurst Park. You worry with Chelsea as well at the moment. You know, obviously a lot going on in the club. Rudiger, the news about him moving on, contract not being able to be agreed. They obviously couldn't throw any more money at it. You just wonder if Chelsea are going to be a bit more from the taking than they have been perhaps at the start of the season as well. And is this as tough a fixture? And I suppose the question is not only just for Everton, but it's for Everton and Leeds as well. Could this fixture probably be not as hard as it was maybe at the start of the season when everyone was saying they're in for the title?
If I was an Evertonian, I'd be cursing that Chelsea fixture wasn't where Watford and Brentford are, because May 15th is the FA Cup final. Chelsea, Liverpool, obviously that was a fixture in the EFL final, the League Cup. We all know what happened there. Liverpool beat them. Chelsea aren't in the Champions League, and Chelsea already have the top four sewn up. They might finish fourth if Spurs or Arsenal go on a mad run, but they will have Champions League football next season. So if that Chelsea game for Everton was in 2 or 3 weeks, Tuchel wouldn't have wanted to have risked a player, a key player, for the FA Cup final just against Everton. No disrespect to Everton. So I think this is going to be a really difficult game because they're not in the Champions League. So there's no reason for them to risk any. There's no reason, for them to not risk any players and effectively rest them, because the Champions League, the FA Cup finals 3 or 4 weeks away. That's the unlucky part for Everton.
I mean, let's talk Burnley a little bit, because you know, let's tie in obviously Aston Villa with it, because Burnley have got to play Villa twice. You look at what obviously has happened since Dyche has gone, and I think unless you're a Burnley fan, you probably feel a little bit regrettable about it, in the sense, because I really didn't want Dyche to go, and I'm a bit gutted in some sense. But obviously they've picked up this form now. He has. Let's put the question in, because obviously we've put Villa in there, and Villa fans watching might be thinking why. But even if Burnley managed to do the double over Aston Villa, surely Villa will find 3 points from somewhere, because that's all probably they need, and you could even argue they should find that in their next home fixture.
You would think so. If this video could look very, very stupid in 4 or 5 days after Villa play Norwich. If Villa win that game and if you're watching this after the Norwich game and Villa you win,
we're sorry.
Forget this. Don't watch this video. But Norwich went to Old Trafford against United. They were 2-0 down, brought it back to 2-2. It took a Ronaldo free kick from 25 yards to beat Norwich. Norwich have lost their last 2 games, but before that they won, and the game before that they drew. They've picked up a little bit of form compared to Norwich. They've picked up form. Let's, for argument's sake, that Norwich beat Villa, because Villa haven't won in their last 5 games. They drew at the weekend against Leicester, which wasn't a great performance, by the way. They lost the previous 4. So for argument's sake, let's say at the point of recording this video, Norwich beat Villa. Can Burnley beat Villa? Absolutely, fighting for their life. They're in a vein of form at the moment. Villa, Liverpool, we don't need to spend any time with that. It's likely going to be an L. They've got Palace. Palace tend to do quite well on the road. Would you say that Villa are guaranteed to beat Palace? I wouldn't. You come back to Burnley. Again, anything can happen. And then Man City at the last game of the season. For me, if Villa lose to Norwich at the weekend, I would not rule it out.
I think it's interesting, isn't it? Because it really shouldn't happen, but you'd probably go back to Everton, obviously sitting in that 18th position. I mean, that shouldn't be happening, should it? But it has happened, and you can never rule anything out with the Premier League. And as you say, Villa haven't been on great form at all. I do think they'll be safe. but I think it was at least worth having a little conversation about. And, you know, you look at the goal difference as well. The goal difference is astronomically better. So they might only need a point more to actually survive. But it's not been a great end to the season for Aston Villa the way it's going. And who knows, we could look very stupid. They could rack up another 12 points. And it'd be like...
Do you know what? I was just about to say that on the flip side, playing devil's advocate, if they beat Norwich, let's say they beat Burnley once and get a win against Palace, they pick up 7 or 8 points. They finish the season 45, 46 points. Yes, but you look at those fixtures, they are not easy, either on paper or in the context of, you know, Burnley fighting relegation.
I mean, I'm going to throw in the fact as well at this point in the video. I've got to kind of side with you with Leeds United. I don't think Leeds will go down. I don't. I think it's going to be a very nervy period because I think Man City, Arsenal and Chelsea to play in the next 3 could almost create a bit of a false economy, a bit of a false worry. But then I do think, you know, Brighton aren't going to have a lot to play for. Brentford, last game of the season as well. They're not going to have anything to play for. I do fancy them to pick up probably 6 points from there, or at least 4. And I do think they might pull up for a shock. I don't think it'll be against Man City, but I do fancy them maybe to get a draw against Arsenal and Chelsea. So although it's relevant in the conversation, I don't think Leeds go down personally.
Leeds have that fixture against Chelsea that Everton would have been dreaming of. I don't know when that game is specifically, but you've got to think it's 3 games from now. That's got to be give or take a week before the FA Cup final. It's got to be. So I think what will happen is I think Leeds might pick up 1 point from the next 3 games. Listen, on paper, that's the hardest 3 fixtures in the league, you could say, apart from maybe throwing Liverpool. They could realistically have 0 points. It wouldn't surprise me if Leeds are in the relegation zone after the Chelsea game. I'd expect them to get a victory from the last 2 games, though. And like you said, they could get 4 points if not 6. Playing Brighton and Brentford the last 2 games of the season, if you had to cherry pick 2 games, you probably choose those, don't you, really?
Yeah, because they'll both be safe. They won't even be playing for pride at that instance. You could even say you're playing a Norwich or a Watford who are going to be down. They could be at least playing for pride. I mean,
they don't want to finish bottom. That I was just about to say the same thing. If you don't want to play Norwich or Watford because they're fighting for finishing maybe 19th or even 18th rather than actually bottom. And again, you don't want to play team like Wolves, for example. I think we're out of Europe, but you don't want to play Wolves because although we're not fighting for anything, we're still a pretty good team. So I think Brighton and Brentford are basically maybe throwing Newcastle like Burnley have got. I think they're, you know, pucker fixtures. Let's talk about Burnley's fixtures a little bit more in detail, and then we'll come on to Everton because we've brushed over Burnley's a little bit more. Watford, you've got to think you've got to be winning that game, especially the performances that they've put in recent weeks. You know, they beating Everton, beating Wolves at the weekend. Those 2 Villa games, we've already spoken about Villa playing Burnley. They could quite easily pick up 3 or 4 points from that. Spurs are Spurs, but Burnley beat Spurs at home, let's not forget, 1-0 not that long ago. I think it was in March after when Spurs were on very good form, and then Newcastle last game of the season. How many points do you reckon Burnley can get from those 5 games? I genuinely believe they could get 7 to 9.
It's going to be an interesting one with that because I think with Burnley, as you say, Spurs, you just never know what Spurs are going to turn up. They could go and actually get a result there. Newcastle's going to be an interesting one because they've got all this momentum. I think they'll be wanting to finish the season on a high, but at least it is at Turf Moor, which could throw, you know, obviously a bit of a positive in Burnley's favour, especially if they need to produce a result on the last day. I mean, you look at the other 3 teams, their last fixtures are actually away from home, so that could be very much a positive. If I was going to say a points guess, I think they might get 7. I think they'll beat Watford. I think they at least get one of the wins against Villa, and I feel like they maybe pull a point from the other fixtures as well. I mean, let's talk about Everton as well because obviously they've got a worse goal difference at the moment than Burnley, so there's a bit of catching up to do there maybe because at the moment, okay, it's only
3 points behind. They're 3 points technically.
Goal difference could come down to it, and they've got some hard fixtures as well. Everton have been terrible at home. I mean, sorry, not at home, away from home.
Away. Yeah.
I think they're going to be a bit disappointed that 3 of the last 6 are actually away from home. I really do.
And then, and even then, it's not as if the home games are bankers. Chelsea aren't. Brentford, no. You could say Brentford because we applied the same logic to Leeds, who play Brentford. They're going to be safe. They're not playing for anything. They're going to be on the beach thinking about another Premier League season. So we said that about Leeds. We have to say the same for Everton. Granted, Palace are Palace. They can go and beat a Chelsea or a Manchester City. We've seen it this season. So that's not an easy game, even though it's at home. It's just the away games. They've got to play Leicester away, not easy. Watford away, easy, but not because they're away. And then Arsenal away. So the away games that Everton aren't good at, they haven't got easy games. And the home games that Everton have got, they're not easy games apart from maybe Brentford. So,
and I think that's it. If you're relying on the home points, you'd probably maybe give them, if you're being kind, you give them 6. You could even argue 4 because a Brentford can turn up, a Palace can turn up. But if we're being kind to Everton's home form and you even give them 6, that only actually puts them on 35 points. I think they still need another 3. And you're looking at Leicester, not easy. Watford would be the one away game they may be homing in on. But it's going to be difficult. And I think we're getting to the point of the video now where we'll probably give our final prediction. And I'm going to start here. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think it might just be Everton. And I genuinely think it might even come down to goal difference compared to Burnley. And I can't believe I'm saying that. But it's bad to think Everton could go down. But the more you look at the way that Burnley have turned their form, it's hard to pick Burnley at the moment. It really is.
It's just they're playing the right teams at the right time. Playing Villa, haven't won in 5. Playing Watford, who are all but down. I just... See, you've said Everton are going to go down. You think they will. We've got a lot of Everton subscribers. Do I need to say they'll stay up so we don't lose 50 subscribers at the end of this video? Scott,
But I think even the Everton fans are facing that prospect. I honestly do. And
they are. I've been watching a lot of Everton channels over the last few weeks. No offense, because it's been quite funny. I shouldn't say that because I've got a lot of good friends. We have a lot of good friends that run Everton channels. But Everton Football Club being in the Championship, you know, I think it's the biggest relegation in Premier League history. I know Blackburn went down.
It's more astronomical than what happened to Sunderland.
Well, Blackburn went down. They were Premier League winner. Leeds went down. They went to the Champions League semi-final a few years before that. Newcastle have been down. But this, for me, it just is the biggest. Haven't been relegated since the early 50s. Scott, for me, it's Watford, Norwich, Everton. I
can't believe it, but it's mad as well because it's not an owner that hasn't put the money in. It's just an owner that has not run the club well. And look, sorry, Everton fans, we know we've got a lot of subs, but hopefully we've spent 20 minutes going through our reasoning. Hopefully you can at least accept our reasoning, even if you don't agree with it. And guys from the other clubs, we haven't put you down. That's a positive. Maybe as a thank you, you'll hit that like button and give us a subscribe for all the Everton subs we're about to lose. And let's hopefully see you on another video. Goodbye.